Is all prepared then? Excellent. Then it is time for our friend to be invited to the shack. Go fetch him for me, would you? And be gentle, I would not have him damaged, if it can be avoided. I'll join you at the shack shortly. I have a few last things to prepare in the sanctuary.
What is the music of life?
Silence, my brother. Midyear, 4th Era, 202. The very way that I go about things must also change. There's a part of me that says that I know who I must kill, and so I should just charge in, kill them, and then challenge any who wish to try to stop me to do so. This is the part of me that has learned how to survive in these last months. I cannot be that person any longer. Now I must learn not just to kill, but to hunt. To learn the ways of my target. Where do they go, and when? Whom do they spend time with, and why? Learn their habits. Find the time when they are alone, and, once this is certain, and an escape route is known and prepared, make the kill. Stalk the prey, not simply killing it, and then leave everyone else to wonder how and why someone is now dead. It is with this in mind that I arrived in Dawnstar before daybreak. The inn staff were already up and preparing for the day, and so paid me no attention as I waited for sunrise in the common room. Today, I begin learning about the first of my Brotherhood contracts, Baetild Ironbreaker. It wasn't going to be that easy, of course. I had spent a few hours watching Baetild and learned quite a bit. I had decided to observe her estranged husband for a while, just to see if he or any of his people were likely to interfere if things got messy when things got messy. About a week ago, during my travels, I happened to have watched a witch get executed by a trio of random people just off the main road. They obviously hadn't wanted to be seen, and neither had I. I'd thought I'd managed to stay in the background, but it turned out I had been noticed. The witch, with her dying breath, had cursed the families of the three who killed her. Sorix, the man who saw me and recognized me now, sees his son's illness as the result of that curse. He's not certain, but he's asked me to get involved and go with him to a meeting with the other two witch hunters. Unfortunately, this is unavoidable. If he recognized me, then he is a threat to who I am. I'll go with him for now, and if I can't be certain of his silence, then I will have to ensure it through other means. The meeting place would be where they executed the witch. On our arrival, it took only seconds for accusations to start being thrown around. A woman's husband had died, torn to shreds by the mill where he had worked for 10 years without getting even a splinter. A Bosma's oldest child had died, playing with the family dog. And of course, Sorix's own child was ill. It was enough that they all believed, and that being the case, the other two never bothered to try and find an alternative solution. The curse, which I had heard that night, required their deaths to be lifted. Sorix tried not to get into combat, but the other two would not allow him that choice. In short, they are now, all three of them, dead, and my secret is safe. Now I just have to walk all the way back to Dawnstar and continue my observations before fulfilling my contract. I returned to Dawnstar and watched Baetild for several more hours. In that time, she never spoke to anyone who was not one of her mine workers, and even those conversations were short. Always, she was pushing for more work, harder work, as though she were in some kind of competition. A quick thought named the only possible person she could be competing against, her estranged husband, who owned the quicksilver mine across town. He would not need to work nearly as hard as she to get the same profit. Iron is not the most expensive of metals, where quicksilver is rarer and far more expensive. This was a doomed cause for her for many reasons. I chuckled. She likely thought her husband would be the one to try to plant a dagger in her back, but having read the contract, I knew better. No, the one who performed the sacrament was right under her nose, one of her own workers. She shouldn't have been pushing them quite so hard. I knew what I needed to. Now I would wait for her to return home, alone, as always, and go to sleep one last time. 26 Midyear, 4th Era, 202. Baetild Ironbreaker. Pride can drive a woman to do many things. Pride in one's family, even more so. You allowed it to come between you and your husband, and that drove you to drive him away. You likely thought that all you needed to do was prove that you were capable, that you could do things on your own, and that by doing so, you would have proven your worth. Misguided. His choosing you as his bride already showed your worth. Your strong sense of duty showed your worth. All of that is nothing now. The potential you had, lost to the void. Because you drove your people too hard to prove something that never needed proving. Carl will be able to drink freely on the job now, and I doubt he'll feel a moment of remorse for it. Baetild Ironbreaker, mine owner of Dawnstar, is dead. Hail Sithis. I passed through the college in the middle of the night, ascending to the Archmage's quarters, which I suppose are technically mine. Some of the doors and chests are still locked, though that was not a problem for me, and in short order I collected a few nice things for the museum and Aryan, as well as locating Gabriella's, art tools. Anyone else would call them torture tools. I'm guessing I know how she gets such bright and vital shades of red. I departed before anyone rose, this time heading for an area near Anga's Mill. I arrived on top of a cliff overlooking the campsite of my second target, just as the sun was about to rise. A perfect place to watch and observe through the day before concluding the contract this evening. Enodius Papias is a contract that I will have little difficulty in executing. He is already all but exiled. A former mill worker down in Anga's Mill, I found him to match Nazir's description of paranoid, but I also found him to be unpleasant, hypersensitive to any seeming misspoken word, and just generally hateful. Almost I would prefer to put an arrow in his face and be done with it. but blood and its power is not to be denied. The more I kill, the more powerful I become, and the more effective in my new role I become. With many of those I have killed like this, I would have something to say on the manner of how their death came about. For Enodius, I have only this to say. Your paranoia was justified, but your infliction of your fears on others was not. Had you simply learned to cope with them and not dragged everyone else into it, you would likely have woken up tomorrow morning and gone to your work at the mill just like anyone else. Enodius Papius, exiled mill worker of Anga's mill, is dead. Hail Sithis. 27 Midyear, 4th Era 202. After resting in Hierum for a few hours, I went to the Northern Maiden and awoke the captain just before dawn to charter a voyage to Solstheim. He wasn't happy to be woken up, but the coin I offered was more than enough to get him to swallow his bitterness, get his crew awake, and head to sea. A few hours later we arrived at the docks, and I began the long trek to the north shore of the island, searching for the cave that Gregor had directed me to. The glacial cave is on the extreme northern shores of the island, requiring me to destroy a small Reekling village, a pair of Marag Tong assassins, and several over-aggressive Horkers to reach. None of them were of any real difficulty, though by the time I reached the cave, I was beginning to reach the edges of my endurance of the sun. Once I was inside, I recovered somewhat before pressing into the cave, where I destroyed another Reekling settlement. This one seemed to be somewhat religious in nature, as it had both the Hand of Glory that I had been searching for, alongside an elaborate skull in places of honor. They died quickly, and in some level of agony, I believe, and both artifacts went into my packs. I'll be stopping briefly in the Skull Village on my way back to Raven Rock. Apparently Freya has something to discuss with me, and I've been ignoring the letters that the courier has been delivering for a good while. It means revealing myself to her, but given their remote location and lack of real communication with the mainland, I do not believe her to be a threat. Freya needed only to make me a gift, it seems. She is the new shaman among the Skald, unsurprisingly, and has little intention of leaving her people, which means she also has little need of her weapons. She claims they are infused with the spirits of the wind, and I can at least agree that they are enchanted. The source of said powers is more up for debate, but I was not planning to insult her by questioning this or the gift. She was at least useful while I was here, which is more than I can say about most of the people of the island. The gift offered and accepted, I departed and made my way back to Raven Rock, where I would catch the ship back to Skyrim. I have one last contract to deal with on my way back to the Sanctuary. 28 Midyear, 4th Era 202. After a quick boat ride back to Skyrim, I spent the day on the road to Riften and the Thieves' Guild. I had all of the stones of Baranziah, and I was going to collect from Vex. She'd been playing me the entire time. Not only is there one additional piece, but the crown, if completed, is what the guild refers to as a paragon item, something that will boost the thieving skills of everyone in the guild. Which means that if I found the remaining piece, the crown that the stones should be mounted in, I will have made the guild even more of a force to be reckoned with. The crown is supposed to have been left in a cave in the Northern Rift, so rather than head to Ivarstead, I will take care of this before I continue on. I'm already in the area, after all. The cave in question is one I have been through before, Tovald's Cave. Since I was last here, according to Vex's information, A group of Dunmeri trying to hide the crown itself went in there to try to hide it, likely because they had heard I'd cleared the place out. At the time, it might even have been true. If, however, I have learned anything about the Falmer, it is that they will return, and in larger numbers. Which is exactly what happened. The Falmer returned and, it seems, shredded the Dunmeri to pieces. I destroyed the Falmer who was still alive, found the crown, and got attacked by the ghosts of the Dunmeri who had died to place it here. None of this was overly hard, at least not for me, but I can see where this would have been hard for many people. I just don't understand what the Dunmeri hoped to accomplish by hiding the crown here. I suppose it no longer matters. Now that I have it, I can sell the whole thing to Vex, make the guild feel better about itself, make a replica of it, leave that behind for the guild, and put the real one on display for Aryan. I'm sure it'll be fine. 29 Midyear, 4th Era, 202. I put Riften behind me and reached Ivarstead, the site of my final contract. This one I almost felt bad about. I've done enough investigation to already know that Nafi's sister Rhaeda had been murdered long before I ever joined the Brotherhood. My discussion with Gabriella about that contract had only confirmed it. I'd even guessed who the contract had been placed by. The same one who was now sick of hearing about Rhaeda every time that Nafi came by. None other, of course, than Wilhelm. That man is as slimy as they come, but that is not my business. The contract is made, the target named. There can be only death. Nafi, I am glad to know that you will never know or understand what it was that happened to you. Nafi, insane drifter of Ivarstead, is dead. Hail Sithis. I had not expected that the entire family would be awake when I returned, but when I saw we had company, I understood almost immediately. Astrid had said we should be expecting to see the Night Mother and her keeper arriving soon. By coincidence, it happened earlier tonight, just before I arrived. They were still in the midst of discussions when I arrived, but it was immediately clear that the Keeper was not happy about the state of things here at the Sanctuary. Arnbjorn in particular seemed to be less than pleased to see the Keeper, and Astrid had to make it clear to him, pointedly, that he was to behave himself. Other reactions were mixed. Krex saw the arrival as a signal of a return to tradition, though I'm not sure how that will work without a listener. Others held their opinions, which is likely the safer option. As for Astrid, I can't get a read on her. If anyone is going to be problematic, well, apart from her husband, of course, it will be her. She's been all but unchallenged as the leader here for a long time. She would do well to have learned what I have from Lord Molag Bal. Even the strongest can be broken. It is best to learn when to bend, lest you break. The Night Mother is no small force to contend with. If this is a signal of a return to the old ways somehow, she will have the hardest time adjusting to it. Astrid saw me enter and used that as a way to break off the discussions with the Keeper. She pulled me aside, and then it became clear that she thought very little of the Keeper at all, referring to him as a fool. I don't think she was referring to his outfit either, though there is something that tickles my memory about a jester. And that was quickly pushed aside, however. I have a contract to deal with now. I am to go to Markarth, where, in the Hag's Cure, the apothecary shop there, I am to locate and speak to a woman called Muiri. Rumor has her performing the sacrament, as well as blabbing her mouth off about wanting an ex-lover of hers killed. No more details than that. My instructions are simple. Go, accept the contract, do what she asks of me, and then collect the payment for my own uses. Simple enough. I had barely stepped away from Astrid when the Keeper grabbed me and spoke with me. He remembered me, you see. Cicero never forgets a face. And that was when I remembered him as well. Months ago, on the road north out of Whiterun, I'd helped him get his wagon fixed. He'd claimed to be transporting his dead mother to a new home. Dead mother. Night Mother. Our mother, as it turned out. The man is obviously crazy. But it seems I've long since done him a favor that has left me in a favorable position in his mind. And according to him, with the Night Mother. I'm not sure how much I believe in any of this. But in the back of my mind, I feel I must take it as deadly serious. After all, my fate was bought and paid for to ensure that I would be serving Sithis, if I understand Ithelia's words correctly. Then, to have this turn of events occur so soon after I become one of them? Coincidences, well, I don't believe in them, really. No, there are big things coming soon, I am sure of it. The Night Mother's arrival at this time cannot be coincidence. I turned in my 3 minor contracts and tried to gauge the feelings of the rest of the family to the new arrivals. There were 2 general sentiments. First, that the Night Mother is to be respected, but that Astrid is the only one they look to and serve. In Vizara's case, I find this understandable. The Shadowscales are trained by the Brotherhood, but they are not beholden to them. He was simply trained to kill. For the others, though, especially Babette, I find this somewhat troubling. Is not the Night Mother the very reason we even exist? Following Astrid is important, yes, but if she were to die tomorrow, what would happen? What then would keep us together? It should be our beliefs that do so, not our loyalty to one single living individual. Second, Cicero is generally thought of as an annoying fool that they will generally be avoiding. Me? I'm not so certain. I've heard some whispers from him already that make me think that the insanity and exuberance may be a large act. Think. He had to be a brother before he was the Keeper, a killer. And who would suspect such a man of being a killer? No. I think there might be more here. I shall have to watch him closely, indeed. While I conversed with Gabriella, I also returned her tools to her. She promised to get right back to work, with the possibility of painting us a new black door with Astrid's help. Things are indeed about to change around here. Whether that change will be good or not is another discussion entirely. For now, there is nothing more for me to do. I am simply the newest voice among the family, and there is little reason for me to form a full opinion about any of this without more information. For now, I will accept their direction, but I will very much be learning and listening to what is happening here. I will not be caught unawares again. I was about to leave for Solitude. I have some small things to do there before I head for Markarth, when I saw Astrid standing alone. I hesitated in what I was about to do, but I felt the pull too strongly to ignore any longer. I pulled upon my vampiric abilities to calm her utterly, and took that drink I'd been wanting since I got here. And in her blood, I found the secret I'd been looking for. The power to be able to resist the sun itself. She will never know it, for she will not remember our shared moment. But her blood, in combination with all of the other powerful blood I've sampled, have given me an ability that even Harken never had. Fool. He deserved to be destroyed. 30 Midyear, 4th Era, 202. The last time I genuinely enjoyed a walk through the wilds of Skyrim was... Wait. I don't think I've ever enjoyed it. Always there was a fear of being attacked. Even as a vampire, the sun was a threat to me. Now that is no longer true, and I can walk the roads of the province with literally no fear of the sun, the weakness it imposed on me, nor anyone or thing on the road that might mistakenly think I am easy prey. All of the power, none of the weakness. This is the way. On arrival in Solitude, I went first to the Radiant Raiment and purchased a new set of clothing. I avoided the look of the nobles, though I merit it, and went instead with the look of well-to-do. I have realized in the past few days that I have need to still be able to appear as myself on occasion, and appearing in my new Brotherhood armor would not be the best move. That done, I went to pay my respects to the honored dead. Specifically the late and unlamented, for the most part, Rogvir, whose fat I took from his corpse in the Hall of the Dead. The next time I return to the Sanctuary, I will have another discussion with Gregor about the Hand of Glory. Finally, I returned to the museum and put in a public appearance there. I had a few things to get displayed, some of which will not be for the public eye, of course, and it helped to keep my name and image untarnished by other events in other parts of the province. My visit to the museum was also reason to speak to Aryan, who had news about the ancient prison of Deepholm. It hadn't been a problem to convert the place to a safe storage facility, and we already had staff members creating detailed replicas of the more dangerous artifacts. I will need to inspect the place to be sure it meets my own specifications, but Aryan already believes it is ready for full use. From there, it was back to Castle Volkihar, where I announced to the clan that we had a new member of the family working towards our interests in the Rift. The announcement was greeted with subdued excitement, but it was a large step forward for us. Apart from myself, the first new convert in several hundred years. The power of the clan grows, as it should. With the Dawn Guard all but eliminated, we can safely grow in slow, measured steps. Ferron has an idea for another such step. The Blood Chalice, he believes, can be further empowered by using the blood of truly ancient vampires. The remains of one such, though an incomplete corpse, has been located. The chalice is already quite powerful. To make it more so for me would be a great boon indeed. I agreed to take a look for it when I was next in that area.